Alright, welcome back to the wheel and suspension brakes and all that good stuff of the S2000. So I mentioned the last video I was going to talk about lug nuts. This is something that gets overlooked so much. There's so many lug nuts on the market, and there's all kinds of fancy colored lug nuts that all look like they're really cool until you find out they might not be the right lug nut for your wheel. So keep in mind, on an OE wheel, it has what they call a ball seat, which means it kind of has a rounded shape to it. Let me get it in a good spot so you can see it. This is where it contacts the wheel. It's not like a taper, it's a ball. It's actually got a shape to it that matches the wheel. Now you can put a taper lug nut on there, but it will concentrate all the stress and forces on a certain part of the wheel that's not the best. So when you're shopping for lug nuts, if it's an OE wheel, you want the ball style right here. I'll show you a picture of a regular taper style here in a minute. Now this is a lug nut I chose to go with our wheel. First off, it's black. It's going to go with the appearance of this wheel, which is what I'm looking for. The chrome. Chrome on black, I don't mind so much. It gives it a little bit of contrast. But against this, we have a black H here. We've got black parts behind here. I want it to be a certain way. Of course, the caliper is silver, but it's not pulling out the color the way I want it right here. So another point I want to make on these lug nuts, there is a lot of them out there that are all fancy looking, and a lot of them are aluminum, which sounds like a great idea because they're lightweight until you work on the car or change the wheels a couple of times. And we've often seen where it starts to kind of damage the threads. Of course, aluminum isn't going to have the same clamping force as steel. It's going to fatigue early. Now, titanium is an option, but they tend to be very expensive. These are a steel lug nut. It's a little bit longer than the factory one right there. I'm going to go ahead and put it on there and just kind of snug it up and give you an idea what it looks like, and then I'll decide if it's something I want to keep if it doesn't look right. I'm doing this left-handed. I'm trying to get this started while holding the other one in my hand. Let me go ahead and change hands. I am right-handed. My left hand is basically just there to kind of assist the right one. It doesn't really do what I want it to do all the time, so let's go ahead and put those on. I'm going to see how that looks. If it looks right and I like it, I might offer these in the store, because I believe this, not only is it a good quality steel lug nut, the finish on it is perfect too. It doesn't have that really cheesy spray paint or just a quick powder coat look. It looks like a quality baked on finish. My only worry is these might stick out too much, so we'll see. Let me go ahead and snug these down and let's come back around and see what they look like. Alright, so I'm going to do a little demonstration here. I talked about the ball and seat versus the taper, which they call it an acorn. This is how the Honda wheel sits. If you imagine this being the hole, this is where your lug goes through right here. This is your thread. So the lug is sitting on this seat. Well, the OEM is a ball and seat. The aftermarket ones is typically an acorn, which is like a taper. This is what the bolt, this is what the lug nut looks like. You know, if it's a 6-point, it kind of looks like this. This here is a taper. So if you put that in here, it tends to do this. It puts pressure here and here. It doesn't fit in here as the factory one is intended. The factory one has this ball right here, and the lug has the ball. Gives it much better contact. Obviously a lug goes through here, so this is cut out, but this is very important. Don't mismatch the lug nuts. It will cause problems. It could damage the wheel, but it could come loose because you just got these pressure points. These are your only two friction surfaces, as opposed to this complete area here. Alright, so the length isn't that bad. They do protrude a little bit more than the chrome one, but it's not enough to bother me. Now, another big plus is these are a 19, which is the factory size. And again, it's one of those pet peeves. I hate it when you have to change from the original size. Let's say it used to be a 19, now you got to use a 20 or a 21. I like it to be the factory size, and these are a 19. As you see, that's a 19. and that's a 19, and it fits nice. It's not loose on there. So far I'm digging these lug nuts. So that looks better, and the fact they're 19 and they're steel, I feel a whole lot better about those lug nuts. And look how good that wheel looks against the red. I like the CR color anyway. It's a special color. I like the gunmetal, but it's not too dark, it's not too light, but it really complements red. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful. So I'm going to put the rest of these on, get it on the ground, get it outside, and do some nice pictures, you know, put some cool music behind it, do some cool little scenes, kind of show you what I'm going for right here. And I'm not producing a car that's the most expensive car. That is not the plan. Yeah, I could do Stop Tech brake kit or Brembos and put Volk wheels and Olin shocks and, you know, somebody's bushings and say, hey, look, I generated the most money for the company into the car, and the car does the exact same thing as it does right now. I'm kind of showing you what we do, how I think I want to get the best bang for the buck. I want it to look and perform a certain way. I'm not just doing it just to spend money, just for the sheer heck of spending money. That's not the plan here. So remember we talked about the brakes on the last series. Well, this is a high temp paint that I've used. I'll see if I can find the information. I kind of joked about it. This is something I've used many times in the past. It's not like an experiment here. It's something I know works and I know that holds up. I'll share it either later in this video or in the description if I think about it. But this stuff works really well. You have to prep it correct. You can't just spray it on. You have to obviously degrease it really good, bead blast it, put an etching on the metal, prime it, and I tend to warm it up. I either put it in the sun or I use my torch and I bring it up to about 120 degrees or so, and it does a much better job at getting a hold of that metal. Gets a really good key to hold that paint on there. Alright, so we've got all the wheels on there. I'm just looking at this again, and I really like the way this looks. So if you're looking at getting wheels refinished, go ahead and check out Glenn's wheel polishing and refinishing, I think they go by. This isn't sponsored by them. They didn't give me it for free. I paid for these. I'm just sharing some of the information like I like to do. Like I talked about, I really need to wash the wheels and wash the tires. It's got that soap on that they use. And again, they're not going to wash every single wheel, but it's something that makes a big difference when it's done. And again, H, this is something that everyone jumps on. If I don't do this, people really get excited and angry about it at the same way. The base of the H lines up with the valve stem. So I ordered these and they just came in. This is the Honda accessory wheel lock kit in black. So it's going to match obviously everything else on the wheel, but these are one of the better ones. We've dealt with locks over the years and we have a lot of cars coming in with different locks. This is one of the better ones. Of course, there's all kinds of things to defeat locks, but it's kind of like a layer of security. The more layers that you can put, the better off you are. So I have a few sets of these. I'm going to put them in the store if this is something you are interested in. And these are obviously made by somebody else, but they're genuine Honda accessories, so they are the better ones. They're not the cheesy. There's a few that once you use the tool, it wears out or it scratches and damages. This tool fits in there really nice, so it doesn't scratch up the inside. It keeps it looking nice. I'm going to go ahead and switch them out for the ones that we have on our car, and I'll show you how well that key fits. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this little key right here, I see the shape there. It'll only go in one way, and when it goes in there, it's nice and tight. It doesn't have a lot of wobble, which means there's less chance of it damaging this surface and scratching it up. Another important factor is it's a 19 millimeter, just like the lugs, and again, it's just one of those little things that I really like. I don't like having off-size stuff. I don't like it to be 21 or something like that. I like it to be the factory size, and also the key is factory, so it fits, everything fits the same way. If you have a 19 wrench and a breaker bar or a torque wrench that's set up for a 19, it's going to fit everything. It's just nicer to do it that way. So looking at it from this direction, everything looks normal, but one thing I like about this is it sits down in the wheel. It's almost flush here. There is a whole bunch of things that you can buy. I don't want to glorify it, but there's just like a cone that has an inbuilt reverse thread, and it fits over this, and you kind of tap it on with a hammer and it brings them off. Well, it relies on getting a hold of this edge. Well, when this sits in so deep into the wheel, it makes it harder for those tools to get in there. And again, I don't want to show you those tools and what it is to do it, because I don't want to make it public knowledge for the people that don't know. But again, it's one extra layer of security, and it's black that matches the lugs. I'm trying to get more of these lugs because I've ordered 4 or 5 different sets, and they're all cheesy. Whenever you buy them in the $30, $40 range, the paint looks awful. It looks like it was painted on with a brush, and I'm trying to get the manufacturer to get me more of these. And I just want to put them in the store and just mark them up like a couple of bucks, just so I can kind of get them out to the people that want them and think like me, because these are super quality. The paint is absolutely fantastic. And again, I want to sell them just so we can share what we're using. Somebody's going to want the same stuff as I want, I know that. So I'll let you know when these come back in and they'll be in the store. In this kit also, it comes with a little baggie, which is kind of nice, that you put the wheel key in there. And it has this piece here, if you didn't know what that's for, so you can put it actually through the factory lug wrench or the breaker bar that comes with it. That's kind of a nice little thing. It keeps it together. But this is designed for your Honda, and that little pocket holds that tool nice. So I wanted to show you this. If you've seen my past videos, I've talked about this. This is done by he's actually a friend. I've never met him, but I've talked to him back and forth so many times, and does such a good job. I'd consider him a friend. This is from Monaco Auto Design. He does this. This is a art of his. You can send him a picture. He's going to blow it up and fix all the problems. You know, if you do it and it's got the wrong light and the shading doesn't look good, you didn't get a high enough resolution camera, and it looks good until you blow it up, then it looks like crap. We've all done that. We've taken a picture and it looks good. This is obviously a Photoshop. He does the Photoshopping. Now, what I want to tell you about this is I had the vision of this car, and before we even changed the color of the wheels, we lowered it, I had the vision of what I wanted it to look like. I'm not going to pat myself on the back and tell you that I'm a designer, but I do have a idea in mind when I build a car. I've done it several times over the last 20 years. I think I do a good job at speccing a car, designing the car, doing a certain package. I don't do anything too crazy. I'm pretty conservative, but this was my idea all along, was a red car with this color wheel, and because I bought an 08 model, this is the 08 wheel. Difference between this and the CR wheel is the color. It's the exact same wheel, but this is my favorite factory S2000 wheel, and I wanted that color. So that was the idea. I talked to Brian. I said, listen, this is a picture of my car. I want it lowered an inch. I want to do the wheel color the way I have it, but I want it in the gunmetal CR. I sent him a picture of the CR, and I actually wanted this black. If you know your S2000s on the 08, 09, this came body colored. I have no clue why. All S2000s have this as a vinyl. If you remove this, it's body colored underneath. That way, if you put a factory hardtop on there, it matches, it looks right. You can remove this tape. We did it hundreds of times back in the day. We used to sell a lot of factory OEM tops. So you remove this. Doesn't matter if your car, all the cars, all the years, S2000s, unless it's been repainted. Take a look at your tape here. From the factory, you see this kind of like a little join here and here. It's because it's a vinyl tape and it's done in 3 sections. Take a look at it. If you don't believe me, find a little spot that you can't see. Start peeling this back. It's the factory color underneath. Well, I like this in black. It's just my personal preference. And this is probably almost impossible to get. I used to have a few of these boots, and I think I gave them away for nothing. Well, I'm going to look and see if I can find another one, because I just like it. When it's put back on there, it just looks nice. But basically, I sent him a picture and said, here's my car. Put a black frame on it, put the CR wheels on it, lower it an inch. That's it. He sent it back. I went, boom, done. Send me the print. Get a hold of him, Monaco Auto Design. He can send you just the digital image or do the full frame. He has obviously the options to print it. I opted for that. If you see our past videos, the first one I did was my Z06 Carbon Edition, and then the truck that I'm building, that right there, I didn't do that. So guess what? There is 2 frames here. This is the magazine that we did on the K-site. There is 2 spots here. The S2000 is going to go there, and guess what? The Integra is going to go right here. Yes, I've given the okay to do the Integra. I've already got him going on that. I love this kind of stuff. So check him out if this is something you want to do. So now you can see the wheel and lugs a little bit better. So I did manage to get more of these lugs. So they are in the store now. Go ahead and check them out. So I'm going to sell them as a set. Basically, you're going to get a full set of 20 of these, including the lock-in. So you're going to have a spare one for each wheel, just in case you lose it. But this is just my choice of wheel lugs. They're not too expensive. I think they're going to be right about a little over $100 for the whole set. I did find some of these off eBay. I'll show you them in a minute. They were like about 25 or 28 bucks a set. They're just not very nice. So this is a little bit more money, but it's worth the money, I think. So I'll show you those side by side, but I really like them on the car. Look at that. They look nice, and they're steel. Like I talked about, they're a steel 19, and then the key that fits this is a 19 also, which I think is important because you don't want two sockets every time you got to change the wheels. And of course, being steel, they're a little bit more durable than the aluminum, less chance of damaging the threads, and you can torque them and get an accurate torque spec. Alright, so this was the bag of lug nuts that I got from eBay, and I just looked them up. They were 30 bucks a set, so I thought that was pretty reasonable. But once I started looking at them close, the finish wasn't as good. They're painted or powder coat. They are a ball style socket, but I just wasn't as in love with them. And then when I put them on the car, the thread was a little stiff. It wasn't bad, but it didn't feel quite as precise. So I managed to acquire more of these, like I just said. This is the ones I like that I put on the S2000. The finish looks much nicer. And again, I know it's not like the finish on your car. You're not going to sit here and wax them and make them look nice. But the feel more durable, and scratching it with your nail, it's got a nice hard finish. It doesn't feel quite as soft like this. I mean, not that it's an ideal test, but when you do this, you can almost feel like you could dig your nail in a little bit and it scratches, which I can see where I just scratched it there a little bit. These have a much harder finish. So I liked them. I managed to acquire 5 sets. I've put them in the store. They're in the store right now. So you can get a set of these with the Honda lock-in lugs in black with the key, just like I showed you. And they're a little over $100 for the whole set. So I'm not making a ton of money on them, but I'm trying to keep them cheap because I like them and I think you'll like them too. So go ahead, check them out in the LHT store and buy those, and if you see something else you want to. So if you haven't seen it already, I put a video up a little bit about the Integra. The Integra is officially for sale. I was originally saying when I built this car it wasn't for sale because I put a lot of parts in it and a lot of money into it, but the realism is if I keep this I can't build something else. All the eggs are in this basket. So, and I enjoy building. I don't enjoy owning the car as much as I do building. I've kind of realized that over the years, but I really like this color. It's a similar color, a little bit darker. This is the CR color on the S2000, but that color against red, I think it really looks pretty, it just really sets that off. It's not black, but of course the gunmetal looks better. It's kind of a gunmetal, a little bit different than the Integra. The Integra is a little bit darker, but with a red H. I really like the way that looks. So check that video if you haven't seen it. I'll link it in the description. The LHT Integra, the Integra is for sale. Go ahead and shoot me an offer, and we'll see more on this S2000 soon. And until then, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks guys, thanks for watching.